I have to also see how it looks like.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I can see myself on the screen. That's so cool. काफी लैग है रजनीश.
Yes, yes, yes. A lot of people actually. Right. Hi, Rohan. Hi, Rohan. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, people who have joined us.
Nice. Sagar's also joined in. Hi Rohan. Hi Sagar. Hello Mandar.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Mandar, Gaurav. Hi. Thank you for joining us.
Hi Vijay. Good morning. Hi Majoy.
Hello, Mahajoy. Hello, Vijay. Thank you. Thank you guys for joining us. And we'll be starting in another minute or so. Hi, Nitin.
Hi Nitin. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Wonderful to have all of you. Thank you, Rohan. Thank you so much. Good morning, Patil. Good morning, Abhishek. Good morning, Patil. Good morning, Hitesh.
Hi. Morning everyone. We have Raghvendra, Abhishek, Hitesh,
Hello,
Madhurima.
Rubina
Hi
ji.
everyone.
Yes, you are putting a lot of pressure on us by writing. Looking forward for a fantastic session. We are trying our best.
I know. I know. I can feel the pressure already. Hi Surbi. Good morning.
Hi, Surbi. Good morning. Thank you. Right. Uh, okay, so it's 11:29. 11:30 was the time that we had to start. And
Yes.
Rita ji, thank you so much.
Hi Rita. Good morning.
Thank you everyone for joining us. And well, the topic for today is brand playbook. It's a very interesting topic in the present scenario, and not in present scenario, but in brand management as there is, and a lot of guys in the product management, brand management, they have. I don't think they have even heard of it. So it's a kind of a new topic, interesting topic, and it will encompass a lot of things that we already have in mind, but a lot of new things also that we'll come to know today. And for this, today we have our guest, who is a very good friend, Ms. Rubina Khan. Right, she's a branding enthusiast and already working with a leading multinational company, taking care of the Asia Pacific region. And she has been very kind enough to come and give us a time to talk about this wonderful topic, which is brand playbook. So, what is brand playbook and what is the importance of it? What does it consist of? How can we prepare it? And whether it is a playbook or it's a book or it's for playing, that all everything Rubina will be telling us. So, Rubina, over to you, please.
Thank you, Rajnish. Thanks a lot. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a nice, lazy, interesting Sunday morning. And I'm going to try to make this session as interesting as possible. I agree with you, Rajnish, that brand playbook is a very exciting topic. And yes, it is very unfortunate that many product managers, many marketing people don't even know about it. That's really sad. Uh, and that's where I feel that maybe today's session will add a little bit of learning to everyone. Before I jump straight into it, I think I'll take just a couple of minutes and give everyone a quick introduction about myself. My name is already known to everyone. I'm Rubina Khan. Yes, I am a branding and marketing enthusiast. However, my industry is primarily healthcare. I have about 13 years of experience behind me in sales and marketing. I have worked in various healthcare companies, Indian as well as multinational, and I've done obviously quite a bit of work on branding. I know that today's audience, all of you, are a mixed crowd. I know many are from pharma, but there might be some who are not pharma. So, all that I'm going to talk today is going to be a little bit mixed. I'm going to give pharma as well as non pharma examples. Please do add your questions in the comments. I can see them on my screen. I will try to address them if it's relevant to the topic I'm speaking on. If not, then we can still address the questions once we're already done. Okay, so I'm just about to share my screen and start. But before that, I have a question for all of you. How many of you have been in a situation where you've joined a company, and you have no clue what the brand is all about? You join, you have no clue what the logo is, you don't know what materials are used, you don't know the color scheme, you basically know nothing about the brand, and there's nobody in the company who can help you. I have been in a place where my boss told me, Rubina, agency से बात कर लेना, agency सब कुछ बता देगी तुमको. No one in the company knew what was happening. Has this ever happened with any of you? You can just type I, me, yes, anything in the comments. No? Oh, interesting. I think I'm the only one who ever faced that situation. चलो कोई बात नहीं. Lucky guys. So, oh, chalo, Nitin faced that situation. I don't know if any of other of you faced it. Mandar is saying, I guess everyone except MNCs. Mandar, I'm sorry, but that happens even in MNCs. I've been in MNCs and it's been the same situation. What I mentioned, I joined a leading MNC and I had no clue what the promotional inputs were, the logo, the color scheme, nothing. And my manager told me to just speak to the agency and get everything. So, yes, you're actually right. Almost everybody faces that. And that is where the brand playbook becomes super important for us as brand managers, as well as for all future generations of brand managers that you and I will be getting together to create. Okay, so let's jump straight into it. I'm going to share my screen and I hope you guys will be able to see it. If you have any challenge, please just type in the comments if you can't see. Okay. Okay, so my screen is now on and I hope everybody can see it. So, this is what a brand playbook is all about. It's about building a brand legacy. Why do I say it's about a brand legacy? A brand playbook is not just a one time creation. You may create it once, you may make it multiple times, but it is like, in some ways, it's like the Janam Kundli of a brand. You know, you can keep on coming back to it and you can keep referring to it. And the brand playbook sort of sets the guidelines in terms of how your brand should be created in the market, how what your brand should stand for in the market. Okay? Let's jump into it. So we all know what the definition of a brand is, right? It's the name, term, design, symbol, or any other feature that identifies one seller's goods or services as distinct from those of the other sellers. But a brand is also much more than just this definition. It's much, much more. What it also involves is five key things that make up the personality of the brand. You have the mission of your brand, which is basically what's your end goal. Through your brand, what is it? What's the biggest problem statement that you're trying to solve? What's the vision? You as a brand manager, you as a company, you own the brand. Where do you want to take the brand? You want to make it number one. You want to reach out to certain number of patients. You want to reach out to certain number of customers. You want to grab a certain kind of market. So where is it that you want to reach? Then comes in the target audience. Give me a second. Yeah. Then comes in the target audience. Who is it that you want to serve? Standard segmentation procedure. All of us do this. We've learned this in marketing. We do it on a daily basis. Who is the target audience? Who do you want to really reach out to? Characteristics of the people. Brand personality. Keywords that describe your brand. So I'm sure during interviews, we've all faced this question where the interviewer asks us, if I ask some of your friends to talk about you, what are the three things that your friends will say about you? It's similar to that. What, as a brand manager, would you say about your brand? The three or four key words that you can use to describe your brand. And over and above that, core values. What are the values that you and your brand abide by and that guide your decisions? Whether it is in terms of investment, it is in terms of branding opportunities, it is in terms of where do you want to showcase your brand, how do you want to do it, the voice in which you want your brand to talk, everything. What are the values that guide your brand's decisions? Now, with all of this in place, the idea then comes in, why create a brand playbook, correct? A playbook comes in all from my previous slide. The playbook is what will encompass everything that you're seeing on my slide when I'm talking about the mission, the vision, audience, personality, and your core values. So coming back to why create a brand playbook. This includes your brand's identity, all of your brand assets, and the appropriate use of these. Four key reasons why you should have a playbook. Consistency and recall. Having this ensures that there is a consistent communication of your brand identity. It makes your brand recognizable and reliable. Okay? It sets standards and rules. So you, as a brand manager, let's say you've launched a brand, you made it in a certain way, you design your communication in a certain way. After you, there will be many more brand managers who will handle the same brand. Will they do it in the same way that you did? Will they change the tone of your brand? Will the representation be the same? Some of it can change, some of it must not. The must not comes in so that your brand remains recognizable in the market. So it's important to set standards and rules for how your brand should be represented in the market. So this includes the rules of how to use the brand elements, where to use it, and this is super essential for new employees. Tomorrow, you and I may leave our current organization, but the person who comes in behind us will have no clue on what we've done. And this is why we create a playbook. You leave behind a legacy of the brand that you made. You leave behind a legacy of the work that you have done on your brand. Third is to remain focused. Having a standard guideline for your brand will ensure that there's no dilution, even when you launch new products or extensions. This happens in pharma, it happens outside pharma. For a single brand, you may have various other SKUs that are launched, you may have extensions that are launched, different formulations that are launched. Having a standard guideline will ensure that your overall umbrella branding and personality remains the same, and that does not get diluted. The fourth and one of the most important points is to enhance the value. Now, when you see consistent representation of a brand from a customer's perspective, the more consistency they see, the more they'll recognize the brand and more they will start valuing the brand. If there's consistency, it's not boring, it's reliable, it makes it more professional, and it gives the customer an impression that this brand is here to stay and we can rely on it. Now, of course, the question comes in, when do you create it? Now, this is a standard chart that I think all of us have seen it multiple times. College, after college, first job, nth job. We keep seeing it. We tell people about it. This is the standard product life cycle. Now, the question is, when do you create a product life cycle? It's not a single point of time. You may create it at a pre-launch and launch timing. Okay? So when you have a new brand, just before your brand is about to launch, it's good to have a playbook in place. So that once this is done, after that, all your post-launch work becomes a part of your playbook. Your playbook guides everything that you do. So it can be at from your pre-launch time frame at the time of the launch. You can also do it at a relaunch. So sometimes it's happened, we've launched a brand, but we realize that we didn't quite do it in the right way, and you want to relaunch it, maybe in a different way, maybe with a different set of customers. You want to relaunch it. You can have a playbook at that time. You can also do this when you're launching a distinct brand extension. For example, let's say if I just take Colgate. Colgate, you have toothpaste also, and then you have mouthwash also. The toothpaste and the mouthwash both are for the oral segment, right? Oral hygiene segment, but they're two very different and distinct products. So then, if I would want my, as a brand manager, I would want my Colgate toothpaste branding to be different and my mouthwash branding to be different. That's where having a very distinct brand extension becomes important here. Okay. And so Arjun's put in a point that every product has two life cycle curves, although through our education we were not taught about the second curve. It would be interesting to say what you mean by the second curve, Arjun. Do add your comments and I will keep on following that. Okay. So this is the first place where you can create your brand playbook. The second one is brand extension, rebranding, and a new target customer. These are the points where your brand is growing. Now, during your growth, let's say you figure out a new place where you want to target, you want to boost your growth. That's where you can have a playbook. Rebranding, you want to give a new look, a new feel, you want to create a new personality for your brand. That's where you do it. New target customer. So let's say you have a completely new customer base that you're looking at. Your earlier one was adults, now suddenly you want to look at children, or your earlier one was men, now you want to look at women. So you have new target customers, and that's where you can create a separate different identity as well. A third aspect is you can have separate guidelines for sub brands. So you have a bigger brand and you have smaller brands under that umbrella. You can choose to have separate guidelines for the separate brands as well. This is a snapshot of what you can do with your brand playbook.
Hi, Rubina. I think she has dropped out. Just wait for some time and she'll be back. Yes, I think she has dropped out. Uh, she'll be back. Yes, Vinod, everyone. Thank you. The video has stopped. Yes, I'll just. Uh,
You can see me. Hi
right.
everyone.
Yes.
Rajnish gave me the good news that I had dropped out, so I joined back in.
Okay.
So Rajnish, can you tell me where I was when I was last seen?
Yes. You were talking about this. I think it was the fifth slide.
मैं slides to share कर रही हूँ. Tell me if this was the same slide or it was something else. So when you called me, I was here talking about the
Yes,
messaging
we
part.
were talking. You you can start from the slide only, brand playbook.
Okay, perfect. So I'll start from here again. If I've missed something, guys, or something you would want me to repeat, you can tell me and I will go back to it. Okay, contents of playbook. Thanks, Avantika. Coming back to this, right? So, the messaging, like I mentioned, crystallized product promise, one of the important parts. We commonly know this as the punchline or the tagline for every brand. MNCs have fancy names, and that is why they call it crystallized product promise. But essentially, yes, it is the promise that your product, your brand conveys to your customer. What are the key messages and the tone that your brand wants, your brand should have when talking to your customers? What are the different messaging channels that you use to reach out to your customers? What is the kind of training that you should be providing your internal team? And then comes in the fourth point, which is the resources. Training materials. What are the various kinds of training materials? Whether it is articles, it is publications, it is some slide decks that you have prepared, there is a manual, there are videos, everything you should list it out here. Essentially, you should also have hyperlinks to this so that the person who's reading it can access it immediately. Team resources. So, team resources, what this means is you have a sales team who's going to be speaking to your customers. What are the resources that you're giving your sales team to go and speak to the customers? Now, for pharma brand managers, it's very evident. It's going to be like the visual aid, it's going to be a leave behind, it's going to be full text articles. What is it that you're giving your sales team to give to your customers? Fourth is the customer resources. This is something that's going to be available directly to the customers. Is it maybe a website? Is it going to be an emailer that you will send out to your customers? Um, is it going to be some sort of resource that's available on the internet, maybe a YouTube video that's already available? Okay. And then there are templates. Templates is anything and everything that guides your communication. You should have a slide deck as a template. So every time you make a brand presentation, your look and feel should be the same. It should look like it's your brand, your brand colors, your brand schema, your brand logo, consistent everywhere. Newsletter templates, envelope templates. You can have templates even for just creating Word documents. You can have templates for creating minutes of meetings every time you have that. You can have templates for invites, templates for emailers that you send out to your doctors. So this slide essentially covers the complete snapshot of everything that goes into your playbook. Om Prakash, good question. What is imagery? That is exactly what I am going to talk on. Now, in this slide, a lot of you may have felt that we already do this. Strategy, messaging, resources. These are three things that we do very commonly. But what we very often miss out is the personality of the brand. And my talk today is going to be focused primarily on the personality. If you have questions regarding the rest, we can maybe take it up separately. But today I'm going to focus, the rest of my presentation is going to focus on the personality. And Om Prakash, that's why I'm going to talk about the imagery as well. Okay, jumping into the next is how do you build a strong brand? It's not an easy job to do, and it's not a one person's job to do. If you really want to make an effective and a strong brand, you need to have a team that comes together and brainstorms, thinks, researches, and puts in points together. There's a long roadmap, like you can see on the slide. You start out from generating insights, like, for example, the need gap, what is it that your customers want? Then you write the brand personality and the positioning. We all do this, right? Unfortunately, we do it only when the brand plans come around. We don't do it as we don't do it when we are creating the personality of a brand. We don't do it when we are creating the brand by itself. So after your insights, you should write down the personality, the positioning that will address the need gaps that have come from the insight. Basis this personality, what should your messaging and creative concept be? Basis this, run a market research, find out what works, what does not work. Draft out a campaign, maybe do a concept testing, then have your final campaign selection. Figure out your final aspects of the branding. So once your campaign selection is done, what will be the final customer facing branding? Tactical planning. This is basically all the events, actual execution points that you will do in the market. And then that's your final go live, that's your rollout. So it's a really long roadmap. But the most important part here is the brand personality. The who, WMI of your brand, the why behind your brand. Why does your brand even exist in the market? What issue, what is the problem that your brand is looking to solve in the market? Why should your customer buy this brand? And why should your customer keep on buying this brand? All of it, why? How would you describe him or her? Now you'll wonder why I'm saying him or her. It is because if you want to really do this effectively, you have to personify your brand. Imagine your brand to be a person. And if your brand were a person, how would you describe? Would it be a male or would it be a female? Would it be someone who has a personality, a delicate personality, or someone who has, a rugged personality, like someone who works out a lot? Would you have a personality of a child? Would you have a playful personality or a serious personality? All of that, how would you describe your brand as if it were a person? The third point is, what is the feel good factor? Now we know, as customers, as human beings, we all want to feel good about ourselves. What is it that your brand is going to do to make your customer feel good? If I am going to buy your brand, what is it about your brand that makes me feel happy that I'm glad I bought this? I am glad I want to go back. I want to show off to my friends, my family that this is what I bought. So, what is the feel good factor that your brand carries? Okay. And these are the five segments that we saw on the earlier slide, right? The brand story persona, logo mark, palette and typography, imagery, and charts. Jumping into the first part, let's look at the brand story and the persona. This section is where you tell the reader the story of your brand and what it stands for. It's not an easy thing to do. So I'm going to jump into examples now and share with you a brand which we all know like forever, Cadbury Dairy Milk. We've grown up having this. We know it in and out. There was a time when we used to fight with our parents for this. Today, we buy it for children around us and we eat it ourselves anyway. But how many of us know the history of dairy milk? It started off as a family shop, a dairy and a grocery store actually. In this grocery store, the Cadbury family started selling cocoa and drinking chocolate powder. From there, they actually went out and made the first chocolate bar that used real milk. So at that time, this is like 1830s, okay, that long back. When chocolate used to be made, they used to use milk powder, not real milk. Dairy milk, this chocolate, Cadbury made the very first chocolate that used real milk and not milk powder. And that is where the whole campaign, the idea of dairy milk came in. Also, because they realized that one, they were using real milk, and two, this chocolate they made had more milk than any other chocolate in the market. So that's where the whole dairy milk branding came in. Now, from an Indian perspective, what does it focus on? Globally, this is what it is, right? More milk. Indian perspective, all the Indian campaigns, if you see, they focus on some sort of a celebration. From कुछ मीठा हो जाए to शुभ आरंभ to कुछ खास है. Go back and remember the advertisements that you've seen for this chocolate. Everything focuses on celebration of some sort. The smallest moments, the biggest moments, festivals, victories, everything. It's all about celebration. But jumping a little bit more into the brand personality is this. First thing, purple. Chocolate is brown. Why the hell is the background purple? Because purple is a color of trust, legacy, it's a color of love. It gives the person who's having this chocolate a feeling of comfort. Second is the see this milk, this glass and a half. We've always seen this icon on all the Cadbury chocolates, but how often have you really thought about it? This is a very thought of icon, and this is a glass and a half of milk that has been on all of their branding since forever. And this emphasizes the more milk than in other chocolates. Going back to the history that I told you. This Cadbury part, this is not just something they've written. This is the actual signature of the Cadbury family. So one of the grandson of the guy who really made this chocolate, William Cadbury, this used to be his signature. And they picked it up, and that's where they made it as a part of the whole brand campaign, giving it a feeling that there's a personality to it. It's not just something that's manufactured in a factory. There's a family that's behind it. The gold color gives you the feeling of classic. I mean, it's been around since 1830s, right? So it gives you the feeling of it being classic, being rich. See the font? It has a very fluid quality to it. So this fluid font, again, the white color emphasizes the fact that there's more milk and the smoothness of the Cadbury chocolate. Okay. So a single image such a small image says so much about your brand. But then you as a brand manager, if you want the other brand managers to understand this, you will have to point this out. They may not recognize it, they may not realize it on their own. It is our job to make sure that a brand playbook says that this is how we write Cadbury and not like in an Arial caps font. You know, it is our job to tell them why we're using purple color and not a red color, why we use a glass and a half and not remove it altogether. Let's have a look at some other examples also. Boy Scouts of America. Now, this is a brand that some of you may be aware of, not a very common brand, but I picked it up for a reason. Boy Scouts of America is a very, very huge brand outside. And this very first image that you see, now these are three different snapshots, okay, from three different pages. This part is the actual Boy Scout of America story. This is a sub brand, which is the Scouts BSS story. This is a second sub brand, which is a Sea Scouting story. Now, if you see, the logos of each of them are different, but they come under the same umbrella of Boy Scouts of America. I have picked this up actually from the branding guidelines of Boy Scouts of America. And you see, each one of them has a story to it. The Boy Scouts say that they are really old. They were there when man first walked on the moon, when the president struck a blow to an iron curtain with a single speech. It was there when scouts across the country rallied to provide relief in the wake of Hurricane Katrina, and that it's been around for more than 100 years. Then coming to Scout BSA, it's talking about boys and girls, how they avoid obstacles, but the Scouts actually seek them. What do? They talk about new skills, camping, how is it fun, then cooking over a campfire, learning survival skills. Sea Scouting is all about sailing a ship, snorkeling, swimming, etc. This will, when you read this, you actually jump into the brand and you begin to connect with it. You identify with it. And that's what you want your brand managers to do, because then only will your sales and then your customers begin to identify with your brand. Some more examples. Amazon, we all know this brand, right? We also know the logo really well because we know this logo has been a part of a lot of memes and a lot of information, but still a little bit to it. It's a lowercase. Was Amazon always lowercase? No, it was not. Initially, it used to be an uppercase brand, but then researches and surveys made them realize that if you write your brand name completely in lowercase, it just makes it much more approachable, makes it more friendly. A to Z, delivering smiles to doors. The smile itself, this is something we're all very familiar with. In general, if you think about it a little bit, this shows a friendly attitude towards their customers. It has a multitude of products from A to Z. It brings smiles on its customers' faces, door to door delivery. Another brand, a little bit closer to our industry, is Apollo Hospitals. We see this branding. This is very clearly a nurse, and the nurse being a torchbearer. And that's what the ethos of Apollo Hospitals is. They want to show that nursing and taking care of patients is their foremost responsibility. The clinical outcomes that they give to the patients are benchmarked against the world's best. They focus on tender, loving care, which is the core model. And their logo is meant to inspire hope, warmth, and a sense of ease in the patient. Coming still closer, I'm trying to give you a pharmaceutical example. Not many of you will be familiar with this brand. Coincidentally, I have worked mainly in oncology, that's cancer care. So I'm taking a brand that I have been familiar with, and that's Herceptin. Now, key thing about this brand is it's a monoclonal antibody that is used for the treatment of a specific type of breast cancer. Before this product came into the market, the patients who had this kind of breast cancer had a really, really short lifespan. The cancer was really aggressive. Patients would hardly survive for some 4 or 5 months. But this brand changed it. This brand actually improved the lifespan of the patients, and the patients now are living for years together. And it's been one of the world's largest brands in the cancer space. But digging into the logo a little bit, molecule name, pharma, we always have that, so it's bound to be there. Herceptin, okay, it's there. But look at the logo mark. Logo mark, just to reiterate, is something similar to what we also call the mnemonic, right? Because it's associated with the logo, it's called the logo mark. What does it stand for? If you see, it's a very feminine structure. It's not just feminine, it's sort of unisex. but because it is pink, it gives it that feminine look to it. But there is a bow and arrow in the hand, which focuses on the fact that it was a very first targeted therapy for breast cancer. See the way the logo mark is designed in terms of the person standing. It's a very strong, aggressive, dominant stand. Shows the feminine power and aggression with which this drug fights against that cancer. So the imagery reinforces the femininity because of the pink, the form, the strong action against a very, very aggressive cancer. And also to point, like I told you, it's a monoclonal antibody. Have a look at this. The logo mark is actually styled like a monoclonal antibody. I mean, yeah, it's an upside down antibody, but yes, it's a monoclonal antibody. So there are a lot of hidden messages that you can see in logos and imageries that come in. Let's jump to the next part, which is the logo and the logo mark. This is what creates your brand recognition, correct? But then it needs very defined parameters to ensure consistency. So you have to make sure that in your brand playbook, you include dimensions, size, proportion, spacing, color variations, a list of do's and don'ts, and include visual examples. Let me jump back to the previous screen to give you an example. Let's say you've ordered something from Amazon. Okay. The package arrives home, but then it is in a white colored paper sort of carton. And the Amazon logo is, let's say, blue in color. And the smile is the Amazon text written and it's blue in color. Would you believe that it is the original Amazon? Maybe not. You might think it is a fake product. You might go to Google and check, has Amazon changed its branding? And you might not believe it initially. And that is why consistency in your brand becomes really, really important. If I have to deliver a fake product to you, the first thing I have to do is make sure that the brand looks exactly the way it is. And people will believe it. Unfortunately, yes, that's the case. So that is why it's very important that you outline parameters. Let me see what's the time. Okay. Okay, I'll rush quick after this. Uh, Jumping to a few more examples. Netflix is something we've seen very, very common. We know the logo of Netflix, right? When I talk about spacing, have a look at this, the clearing space. What this basically outlines is that any place where you want to put your Netflix logo, you need to have at least this much white space around it. You see the T? This is the T from Netflix. You put the T anywhere around the Netflix logo, and you must have that much empty space around it for the logo to be visible clearly. They have guidelines on how you should keep your logo on a colored background, where you should avoid using. So you see Netflix, you should not use it on a multicolored background. You should not use it on double layered. Don't twist it. Don't use it in a sentence. Don't put a shadow behind it. Avoid placements in various ways. So this is a doormat. Now Netflix definitely does not want to be on a doormat. Similarly, do you want your product to be on a doormat? Do you want your product to be printed on a dustbin? Things like that. Where is it that you don't want your product to be? You see this is a dartboard, but you can't even read Netflix written on it. On a cup, don't use it. This is sort of like an ottoman, a sofa, don't use it. This is the symbolism. So we've seen this symbol very often, especially in the app logos, and you'll see that even in the symbol, they have a very clear distinction of how much clearing space should be kept around it. Why is this important? This will make sure that your logo is visible clearly and that it's not cluttered with anything around it. Another example is the World Stroke Organization. I know a lot of people here from pharma. So, the World Stroke Organization is something a lot of you may be aware of. This part itself is the actual logo, but then this is the entire logo unit that the organization says should be used together. To look closer, this whole thing is the primary unit. This is called the secondary unit. Clear space. So if you see, they also have it very clear. It should be the height of the E. That much clear space should be around the logo at all times. Where should you not use it? Don't use it on a colored background. Don't distort it. So you see the difference? Don't be the one. There's a little bit of spacing here. It's sort of shrunken. You shouldn't do that. Don't use a gradient background. Don't change the orientation. Then comes the palette and the typography. Palette is basically the color scheme that you're using. Now, there are four different kind of color schemes that are used: the RGB, the CMYK, the Pantone, and the hex color scheme. When we speak to our printers, when we speak to our designers, we generally just talk in RGB or CMYK scheme. But my recommendation to everyone is that when you're creating a brand playbook, make sure that you outline the colors in each of these four. Like you see, this is again the Worldstroke organization. They have three main colors. The blue and the white are primary colors, the green is secondary, but they've outlined it. So this hash 00119F, that's a hex code. Then you have your RGB, your CMYK, and then you have your Pantone code. Why is this important? Softwares change. I remember when I started being a brand manager, we basically used to work in CorelDRAW. After CorelDRAW, then Photoshop came into place. And now you see agencies are using newer and newer softwares to create designs. And that is where they might want to play with different kinds of color codes. Your whatever your brand is, it gets printed on different material. It could be on paper, it can be on plastic, it is on flex, it could be on wood, glass, acrylic, different things. And for each different kind of printing, a different code is required to ensure that your color scheme is consistent every single place. Having these color codes is essential so that your creative guy doesn't try to sit matching the color. He doesn't have to match it. He just has to put in this color and that's it. You're sorted. Tertiary colors. So this is just something additional you want to use. So they've given gradients in terms of what are the tertiary colors you can use. Okay. The next part, which is the typography, this is the actual font and interface that we use. Sorry, typeface that we use. So, for example, for this particular brand, the Worldstrick organization, this is what the heading should be. They have the Gothic FE com bold. This is what the paragraph header should be, which is in Helvetica New Medium. Paragraph body should be in Helvetica New Light. So these are the three kinds of typographies that are used whenever you want to talk about your brand. Okay, Om Prakash has a question. What is primary, secondary, and tertiary color? I'm going to jump back to the previous slide for a quick second. Om Prakash, the primary colors are the colors which make up your brand. These are the two colors which you want to use the most often. They demonstrate the personality of your brand the most. Secondary is what you will use a little bit lesser. So if I have to jump back to the World Stock Organization color, okay, so for example, let's look at this slide. You see the entire logo here. You see it's always on a white background. That's your primary color. Blue is the color which is used the most. That's also your primary color. Green is used for highlights. Something specific you want to point out, that comes in green. And that becomes your secondary color. So it's not something you use everywhere. Like, see this on the gradient background. They've also reversed the colors. They've used green and white here. Green is not the primary color. Green is secondary color. Secondary is only used for highlight. So something specific you want to point out, like bring it into attention, you use your secondary color there. Okay. Yeah. So jumping back to typography. A lot of big brands also create their own typography. So of course they need to have that kind of an investment, and the agency creates a typography, creates a typeface for them to use. So that is used everywhere. This is also important because imagine if you have two different inputs for your brand. One of them is using, let's say, an Arial font, and another is using a Comic Sans font. It's going to look really weird. It's not going to look good. That is why it's essential to have a single typography style, a single typeface that you use everywhere. Next is imagery. I know someone else was asking a question on what is imagery. Imagery is the kind of pictures, photographs that you use to be associated with your brand. You may choose photography, you may choose abstract designs, you may choose illustrations, you may use paintings, you may use sketches. Whatever is the imagery that personifies your brand, you must use it. Now, this is again the World Stroke organization that I've tried to give you a snapshot. The key thing here is that the risk of stroke is for every 1 out of 4 people. So the imagery, if you see, you go online, you research a little bit, you will see that the imagery always speaks of 4 different people. All four people are doing the same thing though. Either all four are eating, like you can see here, or all four are traveling, like you can see on the image on the right. All four will be doing the same thing in that imagery. Now, all four are colored images. They are not monochromes, right? They're not black and white. They're not sepia. They're not green in color like they have crossed out here. They should be, like I said, they're all four doing the same thing. See the image in the center. These people are playing. These two is just a still image. These are eating. Here, this is a patient image. All these four images are four different. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to show similarity of the four so that you can highlight the fact that the risk is 1 and 4. Don't use gradients. The kind of placements that you use, your imagery. Let's say if you are, let's say in pharma itself, okay, and you have, let's say a fertility product. Now, for your fertility product, are you going to use the image of a 65-year-old woman? You're not. Are you going to? You're an Indian brand. Would you want to use an Indian image, or would you want to use an image of an American woman or a European woman? Fertility brand, what kind of woman would you want to show? You want to show someone who is very thin and frail, or do you want to show a woman who is smiling, who is happy looking, who is maybe even pregnant? Those are the kind of things that you define in your imagery, that this is the kind of photos, images that your brand must have. A very popular brand that all of you may have heard of is, for example, Carl Zeiss, right? Carl Zeiss is a brand which is into a lot of visual equipment and visual devices. I know a lot of our spectacle frames are also from Zeiss. Go online and have a look at some of their imagery. I've not added that as a part of this presentation, but I suddenly remembered because one of my very close friends used to work there. The Zeiss logo is blue in color, but all the imagery in a Zeiss logo is monochrome. It's always black and white. So that wherever you have the Zeiss logo, it stands out really, really well. This will also, your imagery also tells you how to click your photos. Should you have the photo clicked from behind? Should it be from a side profile? Should it be from the front? Should you use landscapes or should it be on a plain background? All of that comes under your imagery. Okay. The last is charts. Now, it was very unfortunate when I tried to look into various branding guidelines. Nobody had this, and somehow I realized that it's probably more of pharma or something very specific. So I created these charts basis what I follow for my brand. When we create presentations or you're creating data points to show to your customers, we have a lot of charts that we bring in, whether it's in terms of bar charts or it's line graphs or it's pie charts, any kind of visual. Make sure that your color schema is very clearly outlined. Now, for example, see the chart on the left. The chart on the left, I'm trying to show brand sales across SKUs. So you have a single brand, but you have multiple different strengths or different SKUs. You want to show how your brand is doing as a whole, but you also want to show what is the contribution of each of these SKUs. So you have everything colored in your brand colors. But the same thing, if I want to compare it against a competitor, I will not use a color for my competitor. I will use my brand color for myself, and I will use a tertiary color or a gray or a not in focus color for my competition. Now, in this image on the right hand side, if I had kept this color for my brand, a blue for competitor 1 and a green for competitor 2, it would take away attention from my brand. Blue is a color which really catches focus. That's where you see a lot of brands. Pepsi also, for example, has blue as its color. If you use blue, definitely the customer is going to look at the blue. You use a green, the customer is going to look at the green. The customer will look at the red. These are three colors which catch attention. So you have to make sure that everything you use, it focuses on your brand and not on everything around. Okay, so that's in terms of the charts. Pretty much that's my presentation. A final quote that I want to leave you with is that the design is the silent ambassador of your brand. When you can't talk, when your sales rep can't talk, when your customer can't talk, your design is what stands for your brand and speaks for you every single time. So make sure your design, your brand personality is consistent. That's all from my end, guys. I'm going to close my presentation, but happy to address any questions that you may have. I hope I wasn't boring.
You're wonderful, as always.
Thank you. Happy to address questions. I know there are a lot of comments that are coming in.
Yes. Any,
Okay.
I would request audience, if you have any questions, कोई question है, so just type it and Rubina will answer it.
Yeah.
So it was a very, very insightful presentation, Rubina, and a lot of
Thank you.
new things. And I know a lot of people have learned very minute details, small details that we tend to overlook many times.
I agree, and it's very unfortunate that we overlook this because the imagery that we use, the brand personality that we create, has a very subliminal and subconscious communication with our customers. So, if your customer, why do we give brand reminders? Right, we give brand reminders so that it remains on the customer's desk. He is not using it, he's not consciously seeing it, but because it remains on the desk, at the back of the mind, the brand name keeps on running, and that makes it more likely for the customer to prescribe or to
Absolutely,
basically
absolutely.
purchase your
Because
product.
somebody
And
was
that's what
asking
matters.
that how do you matlab, how does this act towards the sales towards the end user. I think this is how it is acting actually.
Yeah, it does.
Your font, your color, the way you are writing your brand, subconsciously it stays in the mind of the consumer, and that is how they start relating to it. Right, you have a lot of examples in the pharma industry, like you have that hare patte ki goli hai. Yeah, you go to buy a certain product, you have certain colors attached to it. You have certain colors attached to it, and you immediately recognize that this is the product. So this is how this brand playbook will help you. And yes, we have one
Yeah.
question. Can you share few brand personality example pharma point of view, Dharmendra?
Interesting. So Dharmendra, it's a brilliant question, and I was actually trying to look at a lot of brand personality from pharma perspective. The problem with pharma is, what? We as brand managers don't create these guides, and because we don't create these guides are not there in the public domain. And I'm sure you'd understand it's difficult for me to pull out something that is very confidential and show it to you. But I'll try to give some small examples, okay? All of us have heard of the brand Voveran, correct? Globally, it's called Voltaren. In India, it's Voveran, very, very commonly prescribed painkiller. Have a look at the brand logo, okay? When you look at the logo, you will see, what that up and show it to you guys. Voltaren logo. Okay, I'm going to share my screen directly so that. Okay, can you see my screen now? Yep.
Yes, we can.
Alrighty. Okay. Let me go directly to the images. Okay, Voltaren arthritis pain. Right. Let's look at this particular logo for Voltaren arthritis pain. It's a simple logo. You and I don't really bother about it, but take a couple of minutes and really focus on the kind of imagery. Blue, like I told you, it's a color that you always notice first, correct? So your focus directly goes onto the blue. Arthritis pain is what they're basically trying to say. Look at the other logo instead. Let me change the logo. Joy of movement. Okay, it's a small logo, but I think you should be able to see it. और बड़ा कर सकते हैं क्या?
It's visible. It's visible.
Yeah. Oh, chalo, pura khul gaya. So then this is good enough. So you see, it had the joy of movement written with it over here with the logo. See the way the packaging is. You have a person, you have this mnemonic of a human, a humanoid kind of thing that is in the phase of movement. It's blue in color, so blue always looks of freedom. Blue talks about openness. You can see there's a shadow behind. The shadow always says that there's the person is moving towards the light. Okay, because it's in movement, it talks more about the joy of movement. You see the circle behind it, which is in yellow, white, red, orange. These colors are colors of health, colors of warmth. So they're contrasting the coolness of the person and the warmth of the medication, basically giving the feeling that this medicine is going to give you the warmth, the care, the protection to help you recover and come back into the phase of movements. And if you want this to really come across as a part of your brand, you have to explain it. Now imagine the same thing. If I had to show you the same thing, but if I had to remove the shadow and if I had to remove the circle piche, then it could also mean it could. I would also look at a person who is almost going to fall. It's a person who's going to slip. This is exactly the way a person is when a person is outside the bathroom stepping on water and about to slip. I could see it like that. But because the positioning is like that, you have a shadow, you have the circle behind, suddenly it just changes the way you look at the logo. And that changes the story of your brand. That changes the look and feel of your brand. I hope I've been able to answer that a little bit, Dharmendra.
Yes, absolutely. There's one question from Om Prakash. Can you please comment on brand promise?
Brand promise. Yeah. There was also a comment earlier made by someone that unfortunately brand promise and positioning are generally mistaken for each other. Yes, that's absolutely right. Coming back to the brand that you're seeing, the joy of movement. This is your brand promise. What is it that your brand is? You remember on my earlier slide, I had said, what's the feel good factor that your brand is giving to your customer? The feel good factor is
What
here,
is it?
joy of
Yes.
movement. Yeah. If I have to buy Voltaren or Voveran, why am I buying it? I'm buying it because it's hampering my movement. I'm buying it because I'm in pain. I'm buying it because it's affecting my quality of life. And this drug is promising that if you take it, you're going to be able to move again.
The another example is आ
Imagine a
से
time
आहा
when
तक.
if you
ऊ से आ, something like move का है
आ
ना?
से आहा आ से
Yes, that is.
आ से आहा tak.
Yes,
So where
yes,
every movement is restricted, and then you come to a point where you are absolutely fine. You can lift up heavy weight, you can lift up your child, you can go playing,
yes.
and you can move around comfortably. That is the joy of movement, and this is your brand promise. Your brand
Brand
promise
promise
is not
can,
technical.
yes.
Sorry,
it's
go
it's
ahead with
it's
me.
not only related to product. It can be related to a person also.
It
What is
is
the person as a brand is promising? Your actors, your politicians, your cricketers. When
yeah.
you talk about what promise they are giving to the brand, that is
Mm,
also there. So a classic example is
true.
Rahul Dravid and Sachin. So you have one for stability, one for flamboyance, or maybe one for legendary, something like this. So brand promise is not only related
Correct.
to your products. So next question,
No.
Rubina, is how will branding differentiate our products from others in case of branded generics? I think this is not
Agree.
related to brand playbook, but still, how will branding differentiate our
That's
products
okay.
from others?
I- In a way, it does connect to the brand playbook for the simple reason that once you define how your brand should look in the brand playbook and you keep it consistent, it makes a difference. I'll tell you one very clear thing that I have realized while being in pharma. All of us have this thing that every quarter we need to have a new campaign. Every quarter you need a
Mm.
new visual aid. If you use the same campaign in the next quarter, your management and your sales team both say, brand manager to kaam hi nahi karta. That's the first thing, right? And that is
Mm.
somewhere where you go and see the big brands. The big brands don't change their campaign every quarter. They don't even change their
Yes.
campaign every 6 months. They let that campaign be. They let people remember. When you're talking about branded generics, let me take you to an FMCG kind of brand, okay? For example, chips, snacks. Lays भी है आपके पास Cornettos भी है आपके पास बालाजी की chips भी है. You have lots of chips in the market. Do you remember the brand of Bingo? Do you remember the ad of Bingo? The triangles. The triangles just keep turning, and they have some
Mm.
stupid ads around the triangle. They were the most stupid ads I've ever come across, but they're also the most memorable ads that I've come across. We all remember it. Whether it's the achari flavor, where that woman is pregnant and she's enjoying the flavor of the achar, or whether it is this team of managerial leadership who are looking at the chip from all different angles and trying to figure out what
Yes.
is new in it.
Mm.
You remember the ad.
Yes. Yes, we do.
That's what branding, that is how branding differentiated. Branded generics, how do you want to keep your packaging? What do you want your brand to look and feel like? That's where it's also important for you to go back to your customers and check their insights. What is it that they are missing? If they wanted to see something in your brand, what would it be? What is it that's bothering them? And that is, can you fill in that gap? And that's where you can create your branding around it. Branded generics may there are a lot of ways you can do it. There are ways where you might choose to associate your brand with the original research brand, the innovator, so that there is that element of recognition, or you may choose to be completely different. I'll give you an example. Have a look at the brands that Dr. Reddy's has. Okay? Dr. Reddy's plays very largely in the branded generic space, but the
Mm.
Dr. Reddy's brand names are nowhere close to the original brand names. They're completely different. Completely different. Why? Because once it'll take a little bit of time for the brand name to stick in the doctor's mind, but once it sticks, the doctor will not forget it. Their color schemes are completely different. They will use purples and vibrant blues, they will use greens, whereas most of our pharma brands are blues. They're always blues. We don't use any other color. या तो
Yes.
ब्लू होगा या तो रेड होएगा. हम उसके बियॉन्ड सोचते ही नहीं है. सोचो कुछ अलग
Mm.
करके देखो. So yeah,
Dharmendra is asking, any can you share few brand personality example in pharma point of view?
I'm
I
sorry,
think we have
any.
discussed this. Uh,
Yeah, I think we
Pharma
covered that
brand
example that you.
personality.
Pharma brand. Yeah, that's where I picked up
Yeah.
Voltaren and I spoke about it.
Yes. Okay,
My
so
suggestion to
elaborate is
everyone would
asking.
be go back to the brands that
Mm.
are around you. Okay, around you, as in it could be
Yes.
in your home, it could be in your company, and just keep looking at the brand, like the brand logo or your packaging, your inputs. Disconnect yourself from being the brand manager. Look at it as a third person, or maybe hand it over to your parents, your wife, your husband, your children. If you look at it, what does it make you feel? What is the impression it gives you? And that is what tells your brand story. Yep.
Okay, so Sushovan is asking, how do we instill belief in our sales rep about our brand, as they have certain preconceived notions, and
Yeah.
if they don't take it seriously, all our efforts they are wasted.
Yeah. One of the first things to instill belief in your sales reps is, first thing, ask yourself, do you believe in the brand? Do you believe in the campaign in front of you? If you don't believe in the campaign in front of you, there is no chance any sales rep will believe in it, because you are the brand ambassador, not the sales rep. If you
Absolutely.
believe in it, that's the first place where your sales rep will start believing in it. Second thing, if you want your sales rep to believe in it, you have to maintain consistency. Example, if it's Voltaren. Today, as a brand manager, I come and tell you it helps people move. Okay? Tomorrow, I come and say it gives pain relief. Now, mind you, helping somebody move versus pain relief are two different things. Your movement can include pain relief. Pain relief does not necessarily include movement. My pain may go from a grade 5 to a grade 3, but that does not mean I can move. So my message has changed. Now, if you keep on changing your messages, how do you expect your sales rep to believe in them? It just shows that you yourself don't believe in it. If you don't believe in your brand, your sales rep will never believe in your brand. And sometimes it's just about memorizing things. I don't know if you guys have ever read of the concept of reverse psychology. Reverse psychology is that if you don't believe in something, but you are constantly exposed to that concept repeatedly, subconsciously your mind starts believing in it. And that's what will happen. Example, let's say some of us don't like Karela. Okay? I hate Karela. I really hate Karela. Many of you may be hating Karela. But tomorrow, if every single day someone in your family feeds you Karela and you keep telling yourself, ये करेला नहीं है, ये पनीर है, ये करेला नहीं है, पनीर है, करेला नहीं है, पनीर है. After a while, trust me, it works. Huh? I've done this. Personally, I've done this. After a while, your Karela actually becomes more acceptable. It might not taste like paneer, but it becomes much more acceptable. And that's your reverse psychology. Similarly, for your sales reps, if they say the joy of movement, nahi, we do not believe in it. Okay, don't believe in it, but just keep on hammering the statements that talk about joy of movement. And because you will continue doing it, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months later, your same sales rep will come and talk to you about the joy of movement.
Agree. Very well.
I
Yes,
yeah,
yes. Digital Narayan is asking digital prospect in brand promotion. What are the tools and products like JPEG, Giphy video could be used to catch attention of our customers?
anything and everything. सब कुछ use कर सकते हो आप. nowadays the digital media has evolved so much. I'm not an expert on digital marketing, I must say that. Maybe Rajni, this is a fabulous topic we can have on one of our other weekends. Someone who
Yeah.
can speak on digital marketing. But what I see is anything and everything can be used for promotion of pharma products. आप JPEGs use कर सकते हो. Like I've seen in a lot of places, brand promotion. You cannot leave an LBL behind with your doctors because of this whole COVID scenario. Can you create a JPEG of the same LBL, a chota small one, and send it to your doctor? Can you create a PDF or a GIF and send it to your doctor? Do that. Can you create a jingle around your brand and send it to your doctor? You have your WhatsApp, you have emails, you have portals like Docplexes where you can host these things. There are portals, for example, knowledge portals, for example, Medscape. Of course, these things, some of them need a lot of money, but like you have Medscape, you have UBS Medica, they allow you to have advertisements for your brand. So if a doctor is, let's say, looking at, let's say he's searching for something on arthritis, आर्थराइटिस का चल रहा है उसमें साइड पे अगर आपका if your brand Voltaren or Wolveron is playing over there, it just sort of registers in his mind. अरे हाँ, this brand is used for arthritis pain. He may be looking at something different related to arthritis, maybe diagnostic procedures, but this sets in his mind. So you can use those. There are lots of different ways. Again, I'm sorry, I'm not really a digital marketing expert. We will
No, you
probably
can,
have
you
one.
can, you can. What Rubina said in the same league, I would like to say that you can take some hint and some help from this social media platforms of like say
Yeah.
Zomato. They are not selling food. They don't sell food. What they sell is humor, and which is up to date, and they always have to say something. Maybe Amul that you see
Amul.
that Amul girl that is saying something. How you relate your brand, how you're hammering that brand in your customer's mind in different ways. That is the key these days,
Yeah,
right?
see, like you rightly said, Rajnisha, when I was researching all this, I thought of Amul. Amul never sells butter. Amul
Yes.
butter, they never sell butter. They never tell you, "अरे butter jam का bread के साथ butter खाओ, it tastes really nice." No,
Mm.
they never sell that. They sell daily moments, and they pick up things that are happening day to day. They associate Amul with it. Subconsciously, in your mind, what it says is that Amul is a part of your daily life, and Amul butter can be used anytime, anywhere, by anybody, every day. They haven't said it, but they've said it. You have read it at least.
The same way you can have a look at the movies also. Like there was a time
Yeah.
when there was a concept of item songs. Item songs had nothing to do with the movie, but they were selling the movie.
Yeah.
So you're selling the movie and audience is coming to see it, and in the process they're watching the movie also. So
Correct.
how you relate your brand, how you relate your product to different in different ways to the customer, that is the key. You can come up with anything, and if you are lucky to work in an organization where you can try this, please do try this. And
Yeah.
okay, Amit is asking, can you recommend some good reads for related to this presentation?
More than reads, you know what I'm going to do once this FB Live is over? I will, in the comments, I will put in the links that I referred to. While I was creating my presentation, I came across a couple of amazing sites that tell you a lot about various branding, stories of big brands, branding guidelines, what you should or should not follow when doing branding. So do keep a lookout in the comments for this FB Live. I am going to add it once we're done. You can have a look at those. It was a huge learning experience for me also, I must say. So I'll share it there.
Sure, Amit, you'll get in the comment section. Gopal, Venugopal is saying positioning is equal to end users, brand promise, agree, and outcome of using the brand. Yes,
Yeah.
Venu agree. Okay, any other question? I want, okay, how these logos can be used to express the real meaning out of it with the little to like Voltaran logo.
Mhm.
Okay, how these logos can be used to express the real meaning out of it. I think Rubina, you have already answered it. The way the
Yeah.
logo was designed, what it was depicting.
Yeah.
Right. So Alabo says insightful presentation. The quote mentioned was powerful.
Thank you.
What I understand, promise is what customers or consumers feel about the brand. Right.
Feels, or what is it that you want them to feel? Because not every customer has already purchased your brand. Your brand may be the kind that is a regular use brand like a multivitamin, or it could be a one time purchase like a refrigerator जो 10 साल बाद में अगला वाला खरीदा जाएगा. So then it's not about what the customer feels after buying it. It's about what the customer feels before buying it as well. What is it that you promise that if you buy this brand, this is what you will get with this brand.
Sure. Personality like Bullet, yes. Fitness,
Yeah,
agree.
yeah,
Mahesh Kumar Mentos is one such powerful ad ever, agree.
yeah.
Brand, person, sloth have five main elements. Okay, I didn't get
Slide
that.
has 5 main elements. I think he meant
Okay,
that.
slides. Okay,
I think it
normal
was slide. I'm
rice,
not sure.
rice for
But
brand.
race for brand
Okay.
personality.
Arjun ji ki English, I'm sorry, Arjun, I cannot
अर्जुन
understand.
अर्जुन फोन से टाइप कर रहे हैं. आई नो अर्जुन पर्सनली. अर्जुन फोन से टाइप कर रहे हैं.
Okay,
दैट्स व्हाई ही इज मेकिंग टाइपोज. अर्जुन समझ नहीं आ
okay.
रहा आप क्या बोल रहे हो.
I
आई
want to
वांट अ
send suggestion.
सजेशन. Well, how is the
Digital.
acceptance?
Sure,
Interesting
madam.
question, Naren. Uh, Something that I would say is the acceptance depends upon who is your customer. Is, for example, if your customers are from the rural areas, then do you think having a huge digital outreach makes sense? Maybe not. You will have to see, does your customer have access to smartphones? Does your customer have access to those places where you're going to, like, social media? If your customer does not have access to that, then it's not going to help. Is your product targeted towards the really senior age citizen? Then you can use digital media, provided even though your product is for the senior citizens, but your communication is not towards senior citizen. Your communication is towards the children, towards the doctors, towards the caregivers. Then you can use digital media. The best part is, I think, because of COVID, the acceptance of digital media has grown exponentially. People have been forced into it. So the acceptance is good, and I think it will keep on evolving, but we need to balance. Digital media will never be able to replace a face-to-face connection. Don't miss out on that, but wait out, really assess your customer segment before you start jumping into digital media.
Yes. Also, Narayan, don't consider digital media only as WhatsApp or your webinars.
Yeah, it is
You
a
have to
lot.
be some different because there are hundred of companies doing the same. So how can you use digital media to a new use, and how can you communicate using the same medium? That is the main interesting thing. So Madhusudan Rao ji is asking, how will the impact of cartoon images in visual aid? Will this be childish or have a greater impact?
Madhusudan, thank you for
Depends.
asking this question. I think it's a brilliant question. This has been on my mind for a really long time. One of the things I have realized is, so depending upon the kind of company you work with, and particularly if you are in pharma, the biggest issue we have is getting the right imagery, getting the right photographs to associate with your brand. I'm sure we've all roamed around in conferences, and there's this one particular lady who has really short hair. She's a senior citizen lady, really short hair. I have seen her for multiple sclerosis. I've seen her for breast cancer. I have seen her for some painkillers. I have seen her for heaven alone knows how many different ailments. I am really hoping she herself is fine. But I have seen her for innumerable ailment advertisements. Now, having said that, I personally also believe that while a human imagery is essential, can we start looking at illustrations? Can we look at sketches? Because then that establishes a brand identity. You can use that same illustration or sketch over a long period of time and not have to buy fresh images every single year. Be concerned with, अरे इसका एनओसी लेना पड़ेगा, इसके एनओसी के बियॉन्ड मेरा अप्रूवल ही नहीं होएगा, ये प्रिंट में ही नहीं जा सकता. And example for one of my brands, okay, I did not want to pick up images. I did a full-fledged photo shoot. Brilliant photo shoot. We got the right lady. Everything was fine. I had permissions to use her photographs for 2 years. 1 year into my brand launch, unfortunately, that lady passed away. Completely unconnected thing. Mine was a breast cancer brand. She unfortunately passed away due to a heart attack. But I came to know, in my mind, I was like, oh shit, I have to change the image. I have to change the image because this particular model I used is no more. The superstition. I don't want to use
Hmm.
it. Can we move to non-personal? Can we move to illustrations, which then I don't need to worry? Coming to your question, cartoons. I think it's about perception. Last year, I had the opportunity of doing a project in South Korea. So I was staying there for about 2.5, 3 months. Everything there is a cartoon. Huh? Their police vans, also the policemen, police women are cartoons. Everything is a cartoon. And the acceptance is amazing. Nobody gives it a second thought that they've used a cartoon. Here, if you use a cartoon, people wonder, क्या है ये? Cartoon कैसे डाल दिया? Childish हो गया ये. They don't think that way. So I think it's about perception. Maybe not in visual aid. I think as pharma, we need to start with using cartoons, illustrations, graphics in let's say patient education material. We can at least start doing that. And from there, once there is a little bit more acceptance, start using it in visual aids. Many of us have used mascots, and those mascots are as good as
Yes.
cartoons. And the mascots have had a very good acceptance as well. So I won't say there's no acceptance. It's about how you've done it, how well your agency has done it, and how well you present it.
Madhusudan ji, if you remember, there are a lot of government campaigns which use cartoons mascot
Yeah,
to explain a lot of concept to the general population. चाहे वो
true.
be it of polio, tuberculosis, dengue, malaria, breastfeeding. They even for the farmers, they have a lot of mascots which the government is using.
Very
Okay,
true.
so we have one more question. Sushovan, already reps have so many brands in the basket. So how do we focus? How do we prioritize? Sometimes they on their own decide the focus brand based on the ease of target achievement. How to counter this?
This
Although
is a
it's not,
very company or not
yes,
directly
company.
relevant, but it's a very company decision. You cannot have 10 focus brands. You can't. Focus is always one or two. You always have a P1, P2, P3. Uske alawa, everything is over and above that. So that's additional. As a brand team, you need to get together and decide which is going to be your most important focus brand. What is it that you want to look at, and where do you want your reps to focus? Everything else sort of falls into line with that. See, if you do that, then everything has to be like that. Your noise level around your most important brand has to be the highest. When you're having review presentations or when you're having cycle meeting presentations, if your most important brand is going to have a half an hour presentation and your least important brand is going to have a 1 hour presentation, what is the message that you're giving to your sales rep? If your most important brand has a single visual aid, but your least important brand has a smaller visual aid and 5 different leave behind materials, what is the message that you're giving to your sales rep? Your most important brand has very dull, very boring imagery, has uh, very technical messaging only, but your least important brand has emotional messaging and connect. Obviously, your sales rep are going to go towards the less important brand. Another aspect which I think we all know is how well do you connect with your sales rep? As a brand manager, if I connect with my sales rep better, the sales rep will do more for my brand than for someone else's brand. That's for sure. Multiple levels of strategy है उसमें. Unfortunately, सिर्फ एक brand playbook से you can't achieve that.
Right, Ashish.
Yeah. I think Om Prakash mentioned
Yes.
right now. I missed one message just now. Om Prakash mentioned that he's making a playbook for emerging market brands.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Right? Was
Yes.
it Om Prakash? Yes. Om
Yes.
Prakash, it would be wonderful if once you're done, you can also share it with us. If you need some
बिल्कुल
help
ओम
in
प्रकाश.
between, happy to help
Yes.
you. Yeah. We love to see it, but if you need help, please reach out. Happy to help you. Arjun, full josh mein.
Okay. Right. Simplicity, emotional. Okay.
Perfect.
Responsibility.
अच्छा
Okay.
वो रईस मैं तो मूवी रईस सोच रही थी
Okay.
अच्छा ठीक है अब समझा
That is what I was thinking. I thought it's talking about
समझा
movies.
हाँ हाँ even I thought that चलो thanks Arjun that helps okay so we are 12:45 we've done 1 hour 15 minutes any other questions
Yes.
happy to address and thank you Narayan
Right. So good. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining us, and thank you,
yep
Rubina.
thank
So
you
thank you to
Rajneesh I
you.
think it's a great platform happy to connect with everyone wishing you guys all the best and let's keep connecting on more such platforms
Sure. And guys, if you are interested to present on any topic, if you want to talk about any topic related to pharma industry or any other industry, and if you think that it will be of importance to the people out there, please come ahead. We'll be happy to host you. And लर्निंग जब आप शेयर करेंगे तभी और लर्निंग बढ़ती है.
Yeah.
Right, we
Welcome.
learned a lot. Yes, we learned a lot of things today. So you can all get in touch with us. You can follow us on PMT India Learning. We are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Join us, and we'll keep sharing about the upcoming webinars. Right. So thank you, Rubina. A lot of
Thank you.
people, yes, they are appreciating you. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
guys. Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Take care. Be safe. Have a wonderful remaining Sunday. Khana khao, jage so jao. That's the best way you can do. Best thing you can do on a Sunday.
Rubina. Okay. Thank you, Rubina.
Thanks. Thanks, Rajneesh. Thanks everyone. Take
Thank
care. Bye
you.
bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.